Hello everyone, my name is Kate Marshall. The name of my channel is called Inked Paper Art, and today is day 125 of 365 days of junk journal ideas. I am working in my fairy journal. I am finishing it up. I need a couple of little embellishments for like the tops of pages, the tops of tags, bottoms of pockets, bottom corners of pages. So what we're going to do today is we're going to make some very quick lacy clusters. And I'm going to try to keep these ones small so that they'll fit in the spots that I need. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you what I'm going to play with, and then maybe you can pull out supplies and craft along with me today. So I have a variety of lace. I use some of the kind that is more like an applique lace. And then I'm using some of the kind that is more flat lace, like these ones. All of these little triangle banners are super cute. So anything with a pointed edge will work great. If you have any of these that have embroidery on them, or even cut up vintage embroidery, a variety of colors that match your theme. I've got one of these little applique butterflies. I don't know, just a variety of lace, right? So that's that. And then I also have this gigantic bag of all these cut up little crochet doily bits and pieces, and those are great for topping off your clusters with. And then I also have these. This is a gigantic tray, and all the things I'm showing are listed in Etsy. Everything that I'm using today is listed in Etsy. My Etsy is listed in the description box, but I also have all these little embellishments. So all of these kind of things would be perfect for topping off our clusters today. So you just want a bunch of lacy scraps, and then whatever you're going to use to top off your cluster. I also have a box of just regular lacy scraps that I will be grabbing stuff out of. So grab your stuff and let's go ahead and get started. So throughout the video, I am going to be grabbing stuff out of this scrap box, but I am going to push it out of camera just so that I have more room to work right here. Okay, and then this is the first pile I showed you. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to lay out the base of our little scrap clusters. So usually when we cut lace to put like on a pocket or something like that, you cut it a little larger, and then from there you might work it down to the individual size that you need. So we're going to start off with scraps and that kind of thing. You're going to want your pieces to be fairly small, and you're just going to cut some, if you don't already have scraps that are cut, just cut some random shaped pieces for bases. Okay, so we're going to do flat lace as our base. We'll do a variety of sizes. I also have some white flat lace that can be a base, so we'll just cut that. And then I'm going to pull things from that scrap box over there because I fully intend on using scraps today. Some days you start out trying to use scraps and you just, whatever comes to your hand when you're searching in the box doesn't end up actually being a scrap. So I've got some that have white lace bases, and I have some that have pink lace bases. Let's see what else I can find. Here is some of this like beigey triangle stuff. Oh, here's a scrap. Let's use a scrap. See what I mean? Here's another scrap. So we'll shift our little pink ones off to this side. So right now you're just starting with some kind of a flatter lace as your base. And so we've got this little white one. And I really do, and I know I've said it, but I really do like the pointed triangle look. It's just nice. And so even just one little snip of a triangle, I will do a whole collection of mini ones as well. I don't know if I can fit them in here, but we'll do mini little clusters, just like things like that. So you would cut this lace to fit on a pocket. Normally you'd have something small like this if you cut over size and then from there cut down. So just tiny little pieces, right? So let me get the rest of these set up, and then we are going to make a mess of little lacy clusters. Okay, so I've got all of my first layer down. I know that it is a little hard to see like lighter colored lace on the white background. I do apologize. I should have taken the white filming surface off, but anyway, that's what we have. We have some eyelet down here. These are those triangle pieces. I've got the white flat lace here that I just cut up into random rough cut shapes. You guys can see all of that over there pretty good. And then down here again is the cream colored ones. So I've got white flat, pink flat, cream flat. Then I've got eyelet. A couple of these are more of the applique lace types. But anyway, let's go ahead and do our second layer on these. So anything that is flat, I'm now going to add a lace that has more dimension to it. Something that is a little bit, you know, thicker, not super thick, but so anything flat's going to get that layer put on it. So for instance, if I have a flat pink one, I'm going to put that guy on there. If I have a flat one over here, I might put this gold. Gold is a nice, like this vintage gold looking color. That is a nice little layer. It adds a lot of vintage appeal to things. So just start snipping. Like I have a long piece of lace and I'm just snipping off little tiny bits and layering that up. And I'll try to do a gold one on kind of a lot of different looking pieces so we can see how it all looks together. And so let's do, and I might change it and I might put the gold one in the back and the white one on top. You can change as you go. There's no rules here, right? So let's go ahead. We've got one there, there. Let's try a little gold one here. And there is a front and a back side of lace. Try to keep things, you know, right side up as much as you can. I really do like it like this. I'm going to do another one. Try to keep it face up if you can. Okay, so we've got those ones on there. Let's try to add this little triangle on this guy here. We'll do lots of neutrals. You can do these any color. Again, you know, it's better to use scraps, but like I have a lot of scraps, but it's just easier for this video if I use bigger pieces. Now for this one, I really like it on here, but it's not really like, it's a weird little angle. So you might try to scoot it over so that your points are on top of each other, just so that you can see more points on there, right? So for these guys, let's add that one there. Let's add one to the pink, and then we need to find something else. We're doing too much same. So what else is in this box? Oh, I've got this one to cut up. Let's cut this guy up. So again, we went flat for most of them. Now we're going to go some dimension. Right? And slowly but surely, we will work our way across this table and put some lace on everything, just layering it up. It doesn't have to be directly on top of either. It could be layered where, you know, you've got it offset a little bit, a little crooked. You could go sideways with some of these. You don't have to keep them exactly as they look right now. That's a little too much thickness because this has dimension and this has dimension. So let's move this guy somewhere else. He can go here with this pink behind him. Hopefully you guys can see that one in the corner. All right, so we've got some of those down there. Now let's see what else we have in this bin. Okay, so I have some of this, and this has little applique flowers on it. If this one isn't listed in Etsy, let me know, guys, because I don't know if I actually got around to listing this one or not. But it's been here forever, so I'm thinking maybe I did forget to list it. But we're just going to put some little appliques on some. And perhaps we need to do that one over there. Or not appliques. Well, it's kind of embroidered. Let's go ahead and find a place for this guy. Maybe he can go up here, and I'll kind of put him sideways like that. Okay, and then I do have this guy, and he is a flat lace, but I want to put a flat down here with this little piece of eyelet. There's that. And we have this pink one up here. So you could do two flats if you want, but you do need to add dimension at some point to your cluster. Your cluster cannot be just flat, unless you top it off with something that's a button. So again, you do need something with dimension. And I'm going to add this back here to these, because they're already dimensional and it will get too thick on me. So there's 3 of those. I have these 2 creams that have nothing. Let's go ahead and add flat, and then we'll top with some dimension. There's that. And so I have 2 layers on everything but these 2 here and this guy. So let's find something different to add to those. Because I have stuff set aside for my top layer. This is a good one. So this has some dimension. There we go. Tuck it away. This has some dimension to it. So I might be able to get away with that there. I definitely can get away with 1 point right here on this one. That makes me happy. Let's do 1 little point here. Nope, we got to have something flat. Okay, something flat. Digging in the box. All right, well, what if we did something like fabric? So I've got this little strip of torn mattress ticking. What if we get that on there? And then this is a little piece of French fabric. And we can kind of tear that at an angle and rough that up and put that one on one. So we'll have 2 that have some blue fabric on them. Good for randomness. Okay, so we have 2 layers on all. Now for our 3rd layer. The 3rd layer can be your final layer if you want. I suggest that you put at least 3 layers on your clusters. Maximum would probably be 5. You can't really layer up a whole big bunch of stuff or it will get too thick on you. The other thing to keep in mind is you could use some coffee dyed cheesecloth or some coffee dyed muslin fabric like this. This could have been a nice layer, and I do like to cut it not straight. So see how I'm kind of just like snipping in there and cutting it however. So there's 3 we'll put like that, or maybe we'll do 4. But anyway, that can be a good back layer. So we might do 5 on some. Let's put it in between. So there's 3 for those, but we're going to do a top layer that has dimension. You could sew a button for dimension. You could put a little applique like I'm going to do on some for dimension. Let's add something here so that you can see this white one better, just like that. And then let's try this guy with something that looks like this, where we've got him behind. And so you shouldn't put them all just straight like this. You can, but I think it looks better if you start out by putting them in different directions so that you get more fluffiness around the edge. So everything isn't all lined up and tight close together. So there was just some fabric that was off in there. Okay, let's do that top layer on some. And remember, I did cut a couple of these. These make awesome little top layers. We could put that there, but that's a little thick. Let's do that on that one. I really like that there. And I will pick each one up and show you. Each one of them I will show you so that you can see all the different little layers. Here's one that's great for tops. This is just a nice cream little applique. Again, it has dimension, which is what I'm looking for right now. And that's just small and it will go on top of there. So these, I will also show you how I'm going to use them in the journal so that you get the whole picture, right? Because it's nice to see a cute little video, but if they don't show you how to use it, you know, it's not quite as helpful. A lot of you will know how to use and you don't need me to show you. But some people, they really like that last little step. So anyway, I will show you. I'm trying to find a place for him. He might go there, but we might need another layer. So then we have what is called like embroidered, what am I trying to say here? We have this kind of lace. Where is it? This is more of like your applique lace, but it's got these little embroidered bits on it on top of what is already there. So those are nice because it's actually 2 layers of dimension on one little piece. There is a lace name for this. I cannot pronounce it, but so these little flowers, the lace is a flower itself, but it does have an over applique on top of it. So let's add a couple of those little white flowers to things. And I'm trying, like if I have white underneath, I try to put something with some depth of color and then something that's light on top. Like if I just take this white piece and I add it down here, yes, you can see it. And yes, that is one way to go, an all white cluster. but you're putting dimension over dimension and it kind of blends in. So I would recommend that you put that guy on something where you can see him. It just, shows him off a little bit more. So there's a couple of those. We have these pink guys up here, and I really like to keep the pink with like flowery embellishments. So let's do one here. That works. And then I have these little scrolls, and these little scrolls, they look like this. They're little scrolly things. Those are super fun to use. Let's get one right there. Perfect. Where else do we need something? I got a scroll here for this guy. We have this little poor guy here, this one, so we need a couple more little embellishments. Let's go to the next part of this, which is these little, what are these called? Crochet little doily things. Crochet little doily things, they would be your top layer because they're kind of fluffy. And so they're going to add quite a bit of dimension where you put them. I can keep that guy there. I could put it here. This might be a little too big for what I'm looking for. You can use, like, these are little flat connecting bits from crochet. So you could put that on there. We like that one. This one you can cup as a little flower. Those are cute. Let's see, can we get that there? Maybe he can go here. I like the little flowers. Okay. And then there are little bits that are more like this, where they're kind of a little square. Those are cute as well. Let's put that guy on that. And then you can also put safety pins. You can put bulb pins with metal charms on these little clusters. You could put a bead dangle, like with a bulb pin. You could do just a simple bead on a bulb pin and do that. Maybe we need to put this guy down here. Perfect. And then another little flower. So we're adding a lot of dimension now with these little crochet bits. So that's a few. Let's do just a couple more. Maybe, oh, we didn't get another layer on that guy. Let's do one of these here. And let's go to here. Let's see. I think we need another layer on a couple of those ones up there. So there's a couple little crochet bits. Now let's talk about adding a little bit more dimension. So this is a little bit of different kind of gold lace. This one has a lot of like thickness. It's a very thick, heavy lace. And I know that I saw this guy here. He's pretty like pitiful. In all honesty, he didn't have a lot going on. So we're going to put that gold one back there. Let's see, where else do we need some help? Let's put some of this thick gold. We have something that's all white, which isn't bad in itself, but let's see if we can make it a little better. Maybe. That one might still need a little bit of help. We'll see. Let's go that side. Maybe like that. Okay. Can live with that one. This guy needs a little help. He doesn't have a lot going on for him. So maybe we take that other piece of blue fabric and we layer that in there. So it's just a little fabric and that. That's pretty cute. Okay. What else needs help here? These two. Those two need some kind of other layer. Like here's a piece of cream that can be layered in here in between the pink and that guy. That's better. Let's change that angle a little bit. Much better. Perfect. Okay, let's do some more cream little bits. The cream adds nice warmth, you know? Creams and golds, they add a little warmth. I like this guy that way. So let's do him there. And let's do cream in this one. So it's really just whatever looks good to your eye, but I suggest you start with flat and then some dimension, like dimensional lace, and topping it off with something that's even more dimensional than that. This little guy needs a little help. Here's this one that I keep forgetting about. So there's that, but we're going to get, I don't know, a whole mess of these guys done here in just a few minutes. I think everything has enough to move forward. Let me get one layer back behind these. Now that I put the fabric on them, there we go. Everything here has at least 3 layers. That's what I'm looking for. At least 3 layers before we move on to the final step. The final step is adding your top embellishment. Your top embellishment could be something that's like this, where it is a larger, all my lace is about ready to fall out of there. Your top embellishment could be something that's like this, where it's a larger piece of an applique type lace. And let's see where we can put this. Maybe we can put that on that guy. He looks pretty cute over there. So we'll put one there, and then let's snip out another one. And so he has little connecty bits that need chopped off. I like these two together. So let's do that. I don't want to cover up the flowers, but we're just going to. And then we're moving into these. So these are those little embellishments with ribbons and bows and whatever on them. So we could have one of those on one of that. We might even do these. These are little blue flowers. So these are little appliques that look like that. And these are all vintage pieces that are in my Etsy store. I have had these. I've collected these for a long time. Let's do one there, but we might have to get another layer. And I really like one here. That's super cute. Okay, so we got a couple little blue on there. What about doing maybe something like this, where it's a different kind of applique flower, where it's actually like a little chenille up here in the top of it. Let's see about adding that guy to, whoop, to there. So the top layer could be buttons. It could be little embellishments like this, where you've just, added a little bit of color. We have some of these. I really like these. These are like one of my most favorite little embellishments, and they can add just the perfect amount. I actually might like that better there. Just the perfect amount of color and still being very vintage. You know what I mean? So we can add several of those just for hints of color. You could layer up some applique if you want to bring back some color to the top of that. We might put one over here. They're very, very tiny little guys. We might put one there. We could add one to the top of that. Ooh, I love that combination with the gold. Super fun. And what if we added one there? And here, I did say they were my favorite, and there. So I'll show you those. Let's see what else we have in this box so I don't do the same every day. We have some red roses. They're actually more like tulips. I don't know if they're a rose or a tulip, but we have those and they look like that. I guess they're tulips. I don't know. But we have some little red ones. Let's see where we can get a little red guy. I would like it with gold. This is a nice combination with the eyelet underneath. So there's a little red rose. Let's see what else we have. These are another of my favorite. I promise I am wrapping this up. I will do a little editing to make this go faster here as I glue them all together. But here's another one of my favorite little guys. These guys have green leaves. Let's see, where would he like to live? Maybe he would like to live here. Here? I don't know. He likes to live somewhere. He just needs to find a home. There he goes. Okay, so I'm going to assemble all of these things, and I will do a little bit more embellishing, but I'm going to, putting some more toppers on. I'm going to assemble all of this with Fabri-Tac, and I'm going to use the least amount of Fabri-Tac possible to layer these up, because I don't want them to be glue heavy, and I don't want them to be too stiff. So I'm just going to do little dots of glue. Like, let's see, we could layer this guy right here. So I'm just going to do little dots of glue. I'm going to get it layered up, and I'm going to go dot right there, and that's that. And then I'm going to go dot here, and you're putting your lace where there is some thickness to your piece. So let's see, that's about where I want that. I'm doing it in the air. I suggest you don't do it in the air. So then on the backs of these little flowers, you could sew these together too. You don't have to use Fabri-Tac, but I think Fabri-Tac just makes making a million of them like this much faster. And so there's that. And then we're going to come right in the center and put this guy on. So there's that little cluster. That's how he came out. Super cute. You could add a base layer of fabric. If you want a base layer of fabric, you could certainly do that. So there's that guy. I'm going to get the rest of these assembled. I will come back and I will show you each and every one of them up close in detail. All right, so after I glued them, I think I ended up with 29 or 30, depending on whether I counted correctly. I'm going to pick them all up and show them, and then I'm going to show you some ideas from my little bowl of junk over here. So starting up here in the top corner, we have this guy here. And so I'll try to show them up high and down low. He has a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 with the topper. So 6 pieces total with the topper. That's that one. This is an embroidered, it's a ribbon embroidery rose that I make. And then there's this guy here. He's very simple. He still needs a focal point on him. And what I was really thinking is being able to sew a button right there, but I would like to stitch that on. So these are antique mother of pearl buttons. So you could just sew one right on the center and you've got that. So there's that guy. Then there's this one. And this one I think would look nice with a little dangle that has some beads on it. So you could put a bulb pin in there and put a dangle on there. So there's that. Then we've got this one. This one is super sweet. And it's really just lacy back behind there. So very simple. And then we've got this one. This is our blue one. And I love these little daisies here in the center. We've got our French fabric back there in the back. And this is why you don't glue everything flat, because you want this to flop around on a page where someone can see, you know, what all is tucked in there. I think it's kind of interesting to look at them after they're completed. This is actually 2 stuck together. This is the one with the bigger doily on it. Then you've got this little triangle back here, more lace, the touch of gold. See how the gold adds like instant vintage to everything? And then sometimes you can tweak them a little bit to make that gold peek out a little more. You could come in with scissor and tuck some back there so that you can see a little bit more gold, but I really love this one. And again, this is a good candidate for one of those buttons in the center if you wanted to. Yeah, if you wanted. So there's that one. Then this one is a little more fun. He's got some little, I kind of tucked it in where it's bumpy, where it's more like a ruffle back there so that you can kind of see that. A little more fun on that one. And then just a simple small one. Again, a good safety pin, a rusty safety pin pinned in there with a little button on it would be cute. This one is super sweet. It's almost like a kite shaped piece. And so when you're cutting your layers, do some that are diamond shaped. I think you guys will like them. Again, just a small little guy. He's got some little embroidered pieces back there. Same with this guy. Just some fun little things tucked in. Here's another. I mostly use neutral ones. However, because we're doing the fairy journals, I did do some with some colored pieces in them. I love this one. This one is super cute, especially like I can see, even though it's a tulip, using it at Christmas time. So there's that. This one is small. I kept this long and pointy, and I'm thinking I'm just going to use a rusty safety pin right at the top and pin that to something. Then there's this guy. I guess he goes that way. And again, there's just lots of little clusters or little scraps in there, basically, all layered up. Here's the other blue one. And I just put flowers on both of these blue ones. And then there's this one. This one has the bow in it with a rose. And then this lace, a couple other pieces of lace layered up. I love this one. This one I think would be perfect for the pink. You know, we had the blue lady French journals. We're going to have the pink version soon. And the pink will have this gold lace included in the kit. And I think that's perfect for that journal. Here's another one very similar but different. See the difference between the gold lace? The gold lace and the white lace. The gold is just so much more vintage. I mean, they're both cute, but I like this one too. This one has this little fuzzy connector piece in it. Very nice. There's that one. That one would work perfect too. And then I kept one all white. Everything in there is white. And this is those little crochet things, and you can kind of fluff them up. Same with this one, little crochet piece. This is just a small, tiny guy. I kept some completely white neutral cream. There's that one. This is probably one of my favorites. I always love this ticking fabric, and I love it with this more ecru colored doily piece on it. It's got a little scrap of eyelet back there. Then there's this little guy. Again, just pinned to something. You could pin it right through the doily even. Very cute. Okay, so that's the clusters, and we made, I don't know, what did I say, 30, 29, in that range. Okay, so those will all get put away, but also in this jar or in this bowl, there's buttons like this. So think about putting buttons on. Think about maybe a brooch, putting a brooch, like, I don't know which one, but putting a little brooch or a vintage earring on one. I think that could be cute. You could put, these are the, what are these called? Ribbon crimps. With a ribbon crimp, you could take one, let me see, one with a straight top, like this guy, and you could put a ribbon crimp right there, and that could be how you attach it. So you could do ribbon crimps on them. You could dangle or put some little gears on them if you needed one to look a little more masculine or something like that. You could sew those on even. So that could go for steampunk. Let's see what else is in here. Here's a pin nib. You could, clip a pin nib to the top of one of them and then add maybe a bead dangle with that. I don't know, there's a little pearl hanging out in here. Just do a little something like that. You could sew on your beads too. They don't have to have metal hangers. There was something else. Like we could even take one of these little crystals off and add the little crystal on a safety pin on there. That would be cute. And of course there's charms. So you could take a charm and put a charm with a bulb pin or even a charm on a safety pin and just add charms to these. So lots and lots of things to do. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and maybe you'll sit down and play with your lace scraps and, make something. For the life of me, I can't find a bulb pin in here, which is what I was looking for. That's just the way it goes a lot, right? Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. I hope that you guys had fun and are enjoying your weekend. Memorial Day tomorrow. Hope that you take a moment to just think about what Memorial Day actually is for. And I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Bye, guys.